the Biltmore Estate, the Blue Ridge Parkway, and more in Asheville, North Carolina. This is RV Miles. RV Miles is sponsored by LL Bean, dedicated to helping you experience all the benefits of time outside and stay more comfortable while you're out there. From soft and breathable activewear designed to do it all, to just right layers perfect for changing weather, to sun-smart clothing that blocks the sun's harmful rays, every LL Bean product is made with comfortable time outside in mind. Visit llbean.com to shop now. LL Bean. Be an outsider. Welcome to episode 193 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two full-time travelers who, along with our boys, Jack, Ethan, and Henry, are crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip. Each week we talk all things RV and outdoors, from travel destinations to gear, industry news, our national parks, and a whole lot more.
We're coming to you from South Carolina, a new-to-us state.
We got to mark it off on the map.
We have a scratch-off map. A lot of people have the sticker maps that go on the outside of your rig. We have, on our fridge, a scratch-off map, which is, it's cool, but it also gets accidentally scratched quite often. But
we've managed to go halfway to Alaska.
But it's nice to scratch off a new state.
Well, and it's perfect, too. This map just fits exactly on an RV-size refrigerator. And then that way, it's just always there reminding us how we've yet to go anywhere in the Northeast.
We just left North Carolina, which is what most of this episode is going to be about. And we have sort of fallen in love with North Carolina a little bit. But now we're in South Carolina, and we're at this campground. And it's a nice place.
Where are we, Jason?
But it's very strange. So we're in the towns of, is it Orangeburg?
We're in Orangeburg in a campground called Sweetwater Lake. And I feel like this is going to need to be a topic for next week, because this campground is in a discussion just all on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, you can text someone who will come and meet you by a tree to tell you a story about Sweetwater Lake.
There are donkeys. We are parked on grass.
It has a feel of a harvest host.
Yes, it's very nice. It's very nice.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. It's just, but the big thing is there's a sign as you come in that says out-of-state visitors only.
There's so many unique things happening right now at this campground. The donkeys, I think they were going off at 2 a.m., 5 a.m. I felt like I had a newborn baby in the house again. It was the first time they started getting rowdy, like late night rowdiness. It woke me up and I was so confused, Jason. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was happening.
So we went and got groceries yesterday and went and got dinner and stuff.
We went to the Piggly Wiggly.
As we pulled in. I think Piggly Wiggly is originally from around here. Don't quote me on that.
I'm not sure. We haven't been to a Piggly Wiggly in a really long time, but that's always how, for me personally, one of the things that makes me feel like I am in the South.
So while you were getting groceries, I went and got the truck washed across the street.
Yes. It gave me enough time to buy that bottle of wine I was not going to buy.
And while I'm there, so I'm noticing like the instructions, and I read the instructions on everything, even the car wash in every single mode, what it says to do with. Now, this is the first time I've seen this. So this car wash said to when you soap the car, to go bottom to top. So handheld spray wash. I only use the do it yourself spray wash. So it said to soap from bottom to top on your vehicle, and then to rinse from top to bottom. Rinsing from top to bottom makes sense to me, but I'm really curious if anyone out there understands why I should soap from bottom to top. I would really like to understand the reasoning behind that.
Can I give you an idea?
Sure.
What I think just off the top of my head is that often the bottom part of the car is the dirtiest.
That
then
could be.
If you soak that first, it's soaking longer. It's giving it some more time to get the dirt off of the bottom of your automobile.
That's a good theory. I think that's better than anything I've thought of. So
well, that's why I bought that bottle of wine, because I had a little bit more time to think about it.
All right. Well, I came across a cool story yesterday on Insider. insider.com.
I thought you were about to say on Instagram. And I was like, oh, you
No.
go to Instagram now for all your stories.
No, it's about a woman named Sarah Lemp who's been renovating RVs since 2014 as just a way to make extra cash, and she's doing really good with it right now. And she's paid, for like some for her kids' college and for going to Disney World and stuff like that. And all she's doing is buying all old RVs and fixing them up.
Hold up. I love how they're like, she is making so much money and she has been able to afford to go to Disney. She made $400,000 last year and could afford a 4-day trip to Disney.
She's renovated an Airstream and various other campers as well. But I was really thinking that, like, right now, the used inventory out there. Well, let's put it this way. When you and I looked for RVs, when we bought this one almost 2 years ago now, the used inventory then was rough.
Yeah.
The stuff we were looking at, and we hear people all the time say, don't buy new because of depreciation, buy used. And we could not find a used bunkhouse that had been taken care of at all.
Well, also part of that problem was that the bunkhouse that we needed for 3 or more kids was not quite the popular model that it is now. So that was another barrier
but
we
every
had.
used model that we looked at had stuff falling off the walls.
It wasn't good.
There are trade-offs. I mean, obviously, yes, there is the quality control issue from manufacturers, and new rigs will often have problems. But then you get the maintenance issue from owners of used rigs. But I was thinking, like, now would be a great time to renovate used rigs and make some money off them, because used values are so high. It's going to cost you more to get them in the first place, but if they're not in the greatest shape and you're fixing them up, this could be a good time to be flipping RVs.
Oh, I fear that one night you're going to come to me and be like,
Let's flip them.
Let's
do
them.
it.
We're going to be like Chip and Joanna in the RV industry.
So we'll link to everything we talk about in this episode, of course, as we always do, in the show notes at rvmiles.com/193. Did I say this is episode 193? I think I missed that.
I don't know.
This episode 193. We're getting so close to 200.
We're getting
exciting.
So close to 4 years.
Yeah.
Which I cannot wrap my head around,
and close
that, Jason.
to our 5th year on the road. As a matter of fact, it is past 5 years since we bought the school bus.
Oh, it is, and we just let that slide right on.
We bought the school bus in February 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And we hit the road officially September 1st. So September 1st will be our 5-year nomadiversary, as they say.
As they say. I feel like we missed an even bigger milestone, and that was the day we bought Bussy. I
don't think we missed it. I think we talked about it.
Did we?
Together, not on the podcast or anything.
I don't remember talking to you. I'm sorry. We have a lot of conversations. We work together. We live together. We parent together. We watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier together.
Any of them.
And I don't remember a majority of them.
All right. One more thing I wanted to talk about before we switch gears and head over to our Asheville, North Carolina segment. And, of course, last week's brain teaser, which I know is all that anybody is really here for.
I'm here to clap my hands in excitement.
The Escapees RV Club. We haven't had a lot of interaction with Escapees.
No, we know very little about Escapees.
We've been FMCA members just because, and
then there was this pandemic.
Escapees is a
bunch of stuff.
similar thing, but it's people that are members of it get a lot of value out of it, and I think it's probably a great thing to check out. But Escapees now has a RVer job exchange on their website. So if you're looking for ways to make working from the road work, you can go to Escapees and look through their job exchange. And obviously it's new, so they need to, populate it a bit. But finding ways to work from the road, it is, people always talk about, oh, this is what you could do. You could do XYZ, but not like, here are actually jobs you could apply for, right? So I think that's a really awesome thing.
I think that's really cool. And do you have to be an Escapees member in order to access it? I would assume that's a yes.
Now you're asking questions that I don't know the answer to.
Well, I'm only asking because RV Miles might be hiring, and I'm just wondering if I could access this job board to hire someone.
I don't know the answer, but I'll look it up. And you can too.
I just caught you in an
did.
answer you don't know, and you literally reached for your glass of wine because that's how uncomfortable you are right now.
Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll have the answer to last week's brain teaser and a whole lot more.
Now that's a conversation I'm going to remember.
We'll be right back. Electrical surge protection is one of the cheapest insurance policies you can provide for your RV, and the Power Watchdog Smart Surge Protector, made by Hughes Auto Formers, beats the competition with field replaceable surge modules. With other brands, when the surge protector takes a large surge or a spike, you have to throw it away. The Power Watchdog can be brought back to life with one small, affordable part you can replace yourself. It's the last surge protector you'll need to buy. Use the coupon code RVMiles, all one word, for 10% off your order at HughesAutoformers.com. That's code RVMiles for 10% off at HughesAutoformers.com. It is time for the answer to last week's brain teaser, which went like this. The more I work out, the weaker I get. I come in all sizes and colors and several shapes. Each of me has a name and a label. Be sure to get the right kind. I can be used for many complicated machines, yet am found in children's toys around the world. What am I?
Something we never have enough of here.
Batteries.
Yes.
in our rig, and as for little devices. AA batteries are rough around here.
Yes. And that is probably the one reason why I want a Costco membership is for the batteries.
That's all we need it for, really.
Every time I go with my parents to Costco, I'm like, I will take this entire row of batteries, please. Children need to keep their Xbox controllers powered up.
All right, it is time to talk about our visit to the Asheville area, and specifically the Biltmore Estate, which is really our favorite thing we've done in quite some time.
Yes. So this is a trip that I have been dreaming of making for probably 3 years now.
We tried to make it happen a couple years ago, and we just decided it was too far of a drive from the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area to go, because we were going to go over just for the day in the past. And you could do that. It's probably an hour drive.
You could. We looked at it, and then I looked at the cost, and
You're like, I need a whole day if I'm going to pay that much.
yes. And also at that particular stage of life, that just didn't make sense for us. You know, we could have done it, but would it have been the responsible thing? No. So we waited, and I am glad that we waited because it really did end up paying off for us. You know, sometimes it's just better to wait for that right moment. And this particular trip was the right moment for Biltmore.
And we did a whole lot more in the Asheville area, but let's start with talking about the first campground we stayed at. We stayed at 2 campgrounds, but let's start with the Asheville West Koa. And this was an interesting campground. It was nice. It was expensive.
It was. You know, again, you're in Asheville, and it's a private campground, and it's a KOA. If you're a KOA member, you are going to get 10% off, but I think it was about $50 a night. Again, I ran into an issue.
I guess that's not terrible for Asheville.
No, it's not terrible. But once again, I ran into an issue where I go to reserve something and I'm told this is the very last spot that we have. And yet the whole time we're there, they are not full completely. And I'm not given the option for anything but the premier spot. I'm starting to wonder a little bit about that. Now, I'm not accusing anyone, especially this KOA. They were lovely, lovely people.
They were great. And let's be honest, the campground was busy.
It was very, very busy, but I was looking for, I guess, do we even have off times anymore? But we were just looking for Sunday through Thursday.
Right. We didn't need the weekend.
We didn't need the weekend. So we did the spot. This campground has a lot of promise. It's a really great layout. It's very, very spread out. There's 2 sections to this campground. There's the one over by the main building, and then there's this whole other section where we are. And it's not a short walk to the main building from where we are. And it's very hilly. But what is tough, and there's nothing that this campground can do about it, is that it is backed up right against the highway.
Now, that's a positive for some reasons, to be able to just get off and go there.
Right. And I said to you, for me, it was a positive in the sense that I wasn't necessarily at this campground for this campground. I was here for Asheville. I was here for Biltmore. And because we were so close to the highway and we were so close to Asheville, it made getting into the city and experiencing the city all the more easier. But if that's not what you want to stay here for, this is not your campground.
It's a little noisy. That's really what it comes down to. It's a lot noisy.
It's nonstop highway. It's nonstop, even in the middle of the night, because it's 40.
Yeah, it's I-40 right as you come over the mountains and on your way back down into Asheville. This is where this place is, and it's nice. They've got trails, which is something people would every time we ask people in the Facebook group or wherever, we ask people what are some of the things that you would put into a campground. People are always saying trails. And they had trails, and that was really cool.
Yeah, they had a playground, they had a pool, they had laundry. I get the impression that this is a recently purchased new ownership situation going on there, because there's a lot of improvements that are happening, and they had that, please pardon our dust kind of vibe going on. I also have to say, one of the nicest front desk, check-in individuals I have ever encountered.
The whole staff, everybody I encountered there was fantastic.
So nice. So nice. And they had a scavenger hunt for the kids. They had welcome goodie bags for us. They were giving recommendations on places to go that were both things you could do in Asheville as well as outdoor recreations.
They let you we had to refill our propane, and they did propane fills there.
I loved that.
And they just had you set if you have one that you can remove and set out, they just had you set it out in the morning, and they came by and picked it up on the little golf cart and brought it back full and just charged it to your account.
It was so nice. I mean, that is such a luxury that you don't quite realize is such a luxury until someone offers it to you. And then you think, I don't have to go search out propane.
Right.
That's fantastic. And so they do that in the morning, as well as they pick up trash. And a lot of KOAs do that as well. And they'll bring, firewood and ice and stuff like that to your site. So we had a great time there. The sites are small. Everyone's together. It's a KOA. But for what we were there for, I would absolutely recommend it.
So the big thing we did in the area was the Biltmore.
Yes.
So let's
talk about it.
All of this stuff.
Let's talk about it.
So the Biltmore Estate is the largest house in America. And
it is our Downton Abbey. It is.
It dates back to the Vanderbilt family. The Vanderbilts got into this competition with each other, the sons of, I think, George Vanderbilt.
To have all that money and be like, I'm going to compete with you for the best house.
They were competing with each other to build the best and biggest house, and most of them were built up in the
New York,
in the New York area, in New England. And this one was sort of like a getaway for one of the sons, his mountain cabin,
his mountain retreat, and
it became the biggest house in America and became this huge, it basically became a town itself. And because they had to build a railroad for it, they had to build a kiln to make all the bricks, all the stuff that went into building it, built a town.
Absolutely. And it is incredibly fascinating. And I would encourage anyone. We actually did a See America podcast episode on the Biltmore not long after we got See America started, maybe season 2 or 3. Biltmore. I'll link to it in the show notes at rvmiles.com/193. But it really goes into the history of Biltmore, what it took to build it. It was a working farm. There were so many layers that went into this beautiful home. But I think for this discussion, what makes a lot of sense is kind of to talk about the ins and out as a tourist to Biltmore. So one of the things we're going to say right off the bat is that it is pricey. Now, a lot of people say it's not worth it. Some people say it's absolutely worth it. I fall into the absolutely worth it
we're talking
category.
Amusement park expensive. We're talking, it was $70 for an adult.
Yes, we're talking amusement park, maybe Six Flags. We're not talking Disney.
Not Disney, where it's $110, $20 a day.
So we should mention that the KOA we stayed at offered a discount. Their discount was for the audio tour package, which is still more expensive than just the regular admission. Regular admission is $64 an adult. If you want to add on the audio tour, I think that bumps it up to close to $80. With the KOA, it was $71.
And we did one audio tour for our family of 5
Yes.
and quickly realized that was a mistake.
Yes,
because 2 of our children wanted to hear everything.
I got in so much trouble for that. Now, another great thing, though, because now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, $80 a person. Okay, so that's for adults. Children under the age of 10 and under are free. And then Jack and Ethan, who are 11 or who are 10 and 13, were, I think, going to be like 40, 45. And then there was the discount for them as well. So Henry got in for free. Jason and I paid for the discounted, and then everyone else just bought general admission. I'm the only one that bought the audio tour because, as you mentioned, in the past, we've bought audio tours for everyone, and they have been like, boo, what is this? I am not interested in learning. So I thought, I'm going to get it for myself, and I'm going to enjoy this audio tour, and I'm going to learn about all the old timey stuff, and then they can all just move through at their own pace. People were so angry at me. Like Ethan and Henry were so mad.
Well, they had to listen to everyone. So you would listen, then each one of them would listen, and it took us forever to get through the house because of it.
So it's timed entries into Biltmore now.
Yeah, so let's step back and say
let's take a step back.
I do think people, if you were going to spend that kind of money and just go tour the house and like this, you're just stopping there for a couple hours.
You need to do more.
I would feel like I've wasted some money. I mean, the house is amazing, but this is a day-long experience easily in several days if you had it.
Yeah, so we packed a lunch, and we started actually over by the farm and over by where the winery and their hotel is. That's where we started our day.
It's called Biltmore Village.
There's a great playground over there for the kids. You can see actual artists in the community, demonstrating what they can do. We watched someone making brooms.
Handmade brooms. It was amazing. Like sewing them.
Blacksmith, so you can watch all these things happen. But the real piece de resistance of this whole area is that you get a free wine tasting at the winery. And so you book your time. And this is something we actually didn't know in advance. We didn't know we needed to book a time. And so I went to go figure it out. And I saw that we had to do it, and I could do it on my phone. And I grabbed a spot that was open 5 minutes before. I took the noon spot, and I think I scheduled you for 12:15 or something, and we were going to go separate.
Yeah, we traded off the kids. So the kids could have went with us.
They could have.
It was
100%.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm not going to have a good time. I mean, I would have a fine time, but my time would be split. I think any parent knows anytime you do something like that, your time is split between the thing that you are doing and the little people that you have with you. You can't be 100% anywhere. And I felt like we should be 100% at this.
Now, just know that it is a wine tasting that is free, and you are probably not going to walk out of it without spending any money.
I spent money.
Probably going to buy a bottle of wine. And they really want you to join their wine club. But as travelers, you probably won't.
So listen, if you're a full-timer and you want to go to Biltmore, this is what you do. When Jason didn't do it and he had to listen to the whole thing.
I got a solid sales pitch.
You did. I told my friend, who was an excellent bartender and actually hooked me up with one extra, because you get 5. I got 6.
He was flirting with you.
Oh, that's fine. But also he was old enough to be my dad. I think
even more so. He was flirting with you.
So anywho, I just said, he asked where I was from, and I said, well, we call Chicago home, but we're full-timers. And the minute I said full-timers, he looked at me and he goes, oh, well, I don't even need to tell you about this wine club that we have, because you can't.
Where they send you wine bottles quarterly type deal.
So everyone else, that was in my party had to listen to the pitch, and I just sat over there with my extra glass of wine, and I was like, okay.
All the wine was very good, and then so you do the tasting, and then there's a big store that you can go through and buy any of the bottles you tasted or anything else.
And I bought a bottle. I wanted to buy 2 bottles, but I thought, no. I'll get 1 bottle, and then Jason can get a bottle. He can pick one out. Jason didn't buy a bottle?
I
And I got lost trying to, because right now, because of COVID, they have everything just in one pattern. Like you come in one
didn't
way,
have
but you
that.
exit on another. And I exited to the back of the building, to the back of the village. Took a long time to get back to the pavilion area. So Jason had to go just on in without me, and he left the kids sitting out there waiting for me. And so I didn't get to say, I texted him, but I didn't get to say, like, buy a bottle. So when he comes out, I was like, where's your bottle? You're
Didn't buy a
supposed to
bottle.
buy a bottle.
I
So,
wish I had, but I didn't. Anyway, the wine tasting is a cool thing to do because it's more than just the wine tasting. You actually get to sort of walk through the cellar on the
that
way
walk
in.
is
and
cool.
it's beautiful. It's a neat thing.
You
This-
said to me that walk felt very Disney to
it
you.
did. It felt like the cue to the Pirates of the Caribbean
It did.
ride.
Oh, it did. It totally did.
But this whole Biltmore Village area was very, very neat. There's some trails around there. There's also a Land Rover experience where you can pay $250, but you then have a professional off-road driver like teach you off-road driving, and you go through some trails on this estate.
I'm surprised I didn't lose Jason to
This
that.
is a 5,000 acre estate. It is massive.
There's 22 miles of trails.
From the moment you enter, you go through this big archway. When you drive in, it takes a half hour to get to anything. So the whole thing takes time. It is definitely, like we said, a day-long experience easily. And when you buy tickets, you do want to buy them in advance because you'll need to make a reservation to enter the house. They'll give you a timed entry into the house, and that's just the time you show up at the house. You can still go to the whole estate at any time in the day. So our tickets were for the afternoon, but we came in the morning before lunchtime. So we did this. We had lunch at this farm area, which is separate from the house. Mm-hmm. And then you go up to the house. When you go up to the house, you park in some parking lots, and they put you on a shuttle that takes you right to the house.
And it's appropriately, the shuttle looks like it belongs in the early 20th century. There's a trolley, and it's delightful. And we had the most adorable trolley driver, who I believe his name was Mike.
He was very nice.
He was very nice.
And they do have dog kennels at the parking lot, which are very nice and shaded and clean. And so you can't take dogs into the house, obviously, but you can put them in this kennel, but you can't take them in the farm area and stuff like that.
And I will say, because again, we are still living in the time of COVID, and the Biltmore does an exceptional job with keeping things socially distanced, with keeping things clean. You know, they're limiting the amount of people that they're going to let in every single day, as well as during your reserved time. So even though I don't like to say that this was such a great time to go, because I don't like to say that because we are living in this time of COVID, I do believe that we had a smaller crowd experience because of what the Biltmore is doing in order to keep things safe, in order to keep their doors open. And so even getting on the trolley and how all of that went down, and then how everything happened going into the house, they were very, very clear. You may not take your mask off at any time when you are in the house. They were very clear about that, and I appreciated that.
The trolleys were every other seat. They did, they had people stand 6 feet apart in line and all that. It was great. And so when you arrive to the house area, you could either, if you arrive at your time, I guess you just go in the house. But if you don't, there's so much to do at the house area
gardens
as well. It is like visiting a large metropolis's botanical garden.
Yes, and we had that vibe so many times, because one of the things that we loved when we lived in Chicago, one of the ways that we would escape kind of like city life, is we would all go to the Chicago Botanical Garden as a family, and we would spend the day there walking through the Japanese garden and the rose garden and the English garden, and it was so lovely. And this felt like that. It felt like home a little bit. I longed a little bit for Chicago.
There are, lots of formal gardens that you can walk through. There's a giant conservatory that's got those fantastic train exhibits that they do at botanical gardens, where everything is made out of organic materials. Like there's a Biltmore Estate inside, a miniature model made out of plants. But then there are sort of larger, less formal gardens that you can walk longer trails through and stuff, and you can go to the big fishing pond and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. And
Lot
so
to do.
when it does come time for your tour and you enter in, I have to say that the audio tour is 100% worth it. Get an audio tour for every individual though, but the audio tour is worth it. And here's the thing. I think that we probably took longer than most to go through the house
because 3 people were listening to the audio guide 3
but
times.
I would also say that I think even if I hadn't been sharing that audio tour with the kids, that I personally probably would have traveled through that house slower than you guys would have.
It took us about 2 hours to do the whole house.
Yeah, yes.
And the average person, I think they said, takes somewhere between an hour and a half, right?
45 minutes, I
45
think, or
minutes,
something like that. But the house itself, there's so much to see. And you get into these rooms, and there were some rooms that just absolutely spoke to me, which the library was one of them. I mean, I think there were 20,000 books.
I think there were,
room.
I think they said half of the Biltmore collection was in that room, which would have been 10,000.
Okay, so there's 20,000 total. 10,000. Yeah. Just Mrs. Biltmore's room is so beautiful to see. It's the sort of rotunda like design in there. And then again, you have just these beautiful touches of a time period that is so long gone and yet still feels so very accessible. And it's such a beautiful home. And to think about, my gosh, what it must have been like down in that kitchen. And also, I'll say this to you, and everyone says we should have done the private tour. They offer private tours where you get to kind of like go off the beaten path and you get to see secret passageways and all these other things. And maybe those do a better job. The one thing I felt that was lacking from this audio tour and from this general admission tour is a real acknowledgement of the people that made this house run, those who lived downstairs.
Yeah. You just got really the kitchen was what you got out of that.
Right. And very little to that, and I really felt like that was the thing that was missing, because Biltmore did not just keep operating because Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt lived there. Okay, there were dozens upon dozens of people, probably more, hundreds of people that made this house run every single day and, worked their fingers to the bone. And I think that was the one sort of thing that was missing. So that was the one thing I tried to interject a lot with the kids, is that everything you see here was cleaned every single day by a staff.
Yeah. The whole thing is really cool though, because it is rich opulence for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But it was also something that really did sustain a community of people, and it was it was an attempt at a self-sustaining estate. So they grew most of what they ate at the estate, and most of what they fed the animals and all that sort of stuff. And they built these cottage industries of craftspeople. So the story is it's a great story that is not as full of rich excess as it would seem.
No, they definitely invested in their community. They encouraged craftsmanship and they encouraged the arts, and they really did develop Asheville. I mean, that absolutely they had 100% investment in the community that they were living in. But my point being was that I think that audio tour left something to be desired on that level.
Yeah.
So,
the whole house tour did itself, not just the audio.
Yeah, the whole house tour did. I mean, you can, if you don't do the audio tour, you can get a little brochure and it's got kind of like a breakdown of room to room, and, it's very basic. One thing though I want to say is, so, we did the house, and as we move out of that, and we headed out for the day, and I think we can transition now we went into what is actually Biltmore Village, which is where those who worked in the house, who kept the house running, actually lived. There was an entire village built for the staff. And so now that's been kind of turned into a shopping mecca where there's about 27 different versions of Talbots. And you can... Jason and I have a running discussion on what is the difference between Talbots and Talbots women. Is it woman or women?
I think it's woman.
Is it singular?
Talbots
really?
woman.
Oh, wow.
I think.
I don't know.
What's the difference? But I do want to say one thing before.
Okay,
when you exit the Biltmore, this is a very important thing. Okay, when you exit Biltmore, first of all, it was great to do the house tour in the afternoon that like we did.
Yes.
And to be leaving at the end of the day after the house tours have ended and people were gone. But you can leave two different directions.
Oh, we got so lost.
One takes you back to the main entrance. No, but if you go the correct way, you actually get to drive through the gardens on your way out. And that was really cool.
And that was really lovely. But you did have one part where you were like, are they just saying this is an exit to try to get me to come back over here and buy more wine?
We ended up at the winery again. I don't know how.
I was like, I don't care. Let me out. But so we did exit. And we had a nice long drive through the park. And it was great to leave around the dinner hour because we did head over to Biltmore. We had dinner. And we enjoyed dinner over at probably, I would say, one of the best Mexican restaurants I have ever been to.
Really good Mexican restaurant.
I mean, call me shocked that I'm saying this about Asheville, North Carolina. We went to the Cantina at Biltmore Village, and Jason wouldn't order the skinny margaritas. We had to get the regular. And
of course, I only had one glass, and Abby had all the rest of the pitcher.
So
I had to drive.
You did, and I planned it perfectly. So we went to this restaurant. They have an outdoor option. They've got their indoor option. They were doing a really great job with social distancing. And what I have to say is that this was just some of the best food and some of the best margaritas I have ever had. And we ordered a pitcher because we had a great day at Biltmore, but we also had challenges at Biltmore because we were at Biltmore all day long being parents.
It's taking kids through
Actually, why am I justifying we bought a pitcher? We bought a pitcher of margaritas.
They did.
We don't even need to have a reason.
The kids actually did really enjoy themselves at Biltmore. And it does seem like something that kids would hate. But they did have a really good time.
They had a good time. And we ordered a pitcher of margaritas to celebrate that.
That's not to say they weren't difficult.
Well, and maybe we were difficult too.
Can I make a proposition to you?
No.
Do you remember before we recorded this episode when I was like, maybe we should make this 2 episodes?
Yes, we're going to need to make this
Well,
2
we've talked about Biltmore for a half hour now. I feel like we got to come back next week.
Are we even still recording?
Next week, we can come back and do Blue Ridge Parkway, and we can do the North Carolina Arboretum.
All right, Jason,
and the other campground that we stayed at.
Is this even still recording?
It is still recording. Okay. But it does stop at 29 minutes and 59 seconds.
That's fine. You were right.
You don't know. I don't need a pat on the back. It's all right.
I will. Can I talk about my margaritas now?
Yes.
Okay. So we had some of the best margaritas we have ever had. Also, order these 2 sides. If you do nothing else there, these 2 sides. The plantains and the coconut rice. Unbelievable.
A lot of Mexican restaurants have a lot of the same dishes. This place had some really unique and interesting things, and it was a whole lot of fun.
I didn't have a lick of meat on my entire plate. I did the vegetarian enchiladas. Unbelievable. It was so good. The whole thing. I tried to get Jason to go back. Like, I wanted to go back the next night, and he wouldn't do it.
So that's our visit to the Biltmore Estate, and we're going to talk about the rest of it next week. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have our Fresh Tank Black Tank segment and the new brain teaser. Be right back.
Be right back.
As an RVer, you know how important it is to have a quality RV roadside assistance company on your side, like CoachNet. Imagine driving down a major highway and you hear an explosion. Immediately, panic sets in as you realize you just had a high-speed tire blowout. Your nerves are shot, you're stressed, you're scared, and you're stranded. When you have CoachNet, the first thing they ask when you call is, are you in a safe location? They show a level of care that immediately puts you at ease. They send out a tow truck suited for your RV and tow you to a repair shop where you can catch your breath and finally relax. CoachNet has over 30 years of RV industry expertise, and their mission is to ensure that you enjoy a carefree RVing experience by getting you back on the road to make memories with your family and friends. For more information about CoachNet memberships, visit welcome.coachnet.com/RV miles. It's time to check the level of our tanks, but before we do, we have an important message.
We have an important message that got left from the A block, and that is that starting Monday, April 26th, we are doing an entire week of membership giveaways over on the RV Miles Instagram page. We have partnered with FMCA, Boondockers Welcome, and Togo RV Plus to give away one membership to each one of those places. So 3 people total have a chance this coming week to win a membership. So if you are not following RV Miles over on Instagram, what are you waiting for? Now is the perfect time. Just go to instagram.com/RVMiles and make sure to follow us, because this coming week I am making good on my promise. It's the month of giveaways, and month plural, April and May now.
We've already given out a
dish
package.
outdoors.
We've given out we're about to give out a national parks pass.
So if you listen to this on the day that RV Miles, this podcast episode 193 comes out on Sunday.
That's the last day.
That's the last day to enter to win an annual pass. The America the Beautiful annual pass, which gets you free entry into any fee collecting national park site. I will put that also in the show notes, rvmiles.com/193. So if you're listening to this on Sunday and you want to get in on that, you have till 11:59 and 59 seconds Pacific to enter, and then we'll contact somebody on Monday, April 26th.
You gonna be up till that time Pacific, or we got it?
No, baby.
Is it automated? It's automated.
Baby, I got it taken care of. Don't worry about it.
All right, Abby, what's in your black tank this week?
So my black tank is very personal, and that's because you and I disagree on something, and that is kidney beans in chili.
You haven't tried it yet.
Nope.
I mean, you have in the past, but today we are making chili. There's chili in the Instant Pot.
In fact, it beeped while we were doing this.
Right over by us.
Yes.
And it has, because we had some kidney beans, it has kidney beans in it. And Abby usually likes when I put Great Northern beans in the chili.
First off, okay, they're called kidney beans.
That's just the shape.
Because they're shaped like your kidney.
The best, listen, I don't have high hopes.
Not here for it.
I don't have high hopes for these kidney beans. It's not a bean heavy chili, but I will say
that's how I like it.
What I do like to put in chili, though, is the kidney beans that are canned in spices and chili powder. That is good.
The only thing that's saving this chili tonight for me is that I have a bag of Fritos, some sour cream, and some shredded cheddar cheese.
We were also a little short on the chili powder, so we're going to see how this goes.
Listen, this is a hodgepodge of chili tonight, but I'm black tanking kidney beans. I apologize to anyone.
Before you eat them.
No, I've eaten them before. I don't need to keep eating them. But
all right.
There you go.
What's in your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank is RV related. Let's get back to the topic. And
you don't say.
I don't say. I know that that's odd to have Abby with a fresh tank that's RV related. But Spot Tonight, which we've actually had on the podcast a few episodes back.
Yeah, Terry from Spot Tonight came, Terry Broussard.
And it seems like a really cool app. Well, they have finally released their Android version, which is something that someone's been asking us about a lot lately.
So this is an app that you can find last minute. You can check the podcast interview we did with them, but you can find last minute campsites, and they're very, very new. So they don't have a lot of campgrounds in the system, but this is an app to get and support, because it is something that we all have wanted. If you've been RVing for any amount of time, an app you can pull up to find near you sites that are available right now and book them right there without calling phone numbers, without going through Campendium and searching all the different sites and all that. This if they're able to build it to get the market saturation that they need to, will be awesome. But we all have to support them to make that happen.
Absolutely. So now, Apple users, iPhone users, Android users, you both can go, you can download this app. And again, as we have continued to talk about how difficult it is to find campgrounds nowadays, how great is it to have an app that can show us those last minute spots, that the days of booking a last minute spot don't have to be over.
I think most of the ones that they have available right now are in the South, and it's free, and you don't pay anything to look up campgrounds. You only pay a fee when you book.
Yeah, so go check it out. If you're an Android user, you now have access to it. Go check it out. See if it's something that works for you. I just think it's really cool. I'm glad to see that they're doing more forward motion with this, that they're getting the response they need. All right, Jay, what's in your black tank?
Okay, so am I doing something wrong when we're driving down the interstate and we come up to entrance ramps? Like people are coming on the entrance ramp.
I can't have this conversation.
So on our way here, on our way to this campsite that we were at now, 3 times, there are 3 instances, and maybe this is a Carolinas thing, or maybe I'm the idiot. But on three separate occasions.
You cannot set me up like that.
I really had to brake pretty hard to allow the person coming on the on-ramp to get on. Because, this is my philosophy when I'm driving in that right lane and there are on-ramps and people coming on. My philosophy has been I keep my speed unless they're a little bit ahead of me coming on the on-ramp, and it looks like they're not slowing down. And then what happened 3 times on our way down here was that happened. They were ahead of me on the on-ramp, and I started slowing down to give them a little space. But at the same time, and I'm not like talking about slamming on the brakes, but I started slowing down to give them space. Then they start slowing down. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm in a situation where I do have to slam on the brakes because they're not using their darn gas pedal to fill in the empty gap. There's a giant gap of space. You're coming on the on-ramp, you get up to highway speed on the on-ramp, and then you merge in the open spaces. Isn't that how it works? Am I crazy?
This is the most animated I've ever heard you on this show. You have so many feels on this subject.
It feels like Oklahoma City all over again, except for here, they're not stopping. Oklahoma City, they're like, they pretend there's a stop sign there, and they turn their turn signal on and wait, and then they go.
This is what I think is happening. I don't know if you want to hear this. This is tough love.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if you want to hear it or not.
Boy.
I think that what's happening is these cars are anticipating that you, the individual on the highway, are actually going to increase your speed to get ahead of them as they're coming. Now, that does not mean that that's the appropriate way that this should be handled with entrance ramp to getting onto a highway. That's not what I'm saying. I think people are so accustomed that when they're coming to an entrance ramp, that cars are not going to be good Samaritans and let them in, that they're going to floor it and get ahead. So what they're doing is they're anticipating you doing that. So they're slowing down while you're slowing down. Now everyone's slowing down. And then you're hitting the brakes so hard that when I come into this RV later, buckets have tumbled over, things have slidden forward.
That's the thing. It becomes a situation where it's like, I slow down, then they slow down. Then I slow down more, then they slow down. Because, and then I'm like, what do I do? We're at a point where I can't speed up because you'll never get on if I speed up now.
Yeah, so I think that is what's happening.
So I'm just gonna
no.
Cruise control stays on, I just go.
Oh my God.
Right?
You hit the brake so hard that I thought, oh, well, we're about to meet our neighbor behind us because they're gonna.
You really oversold this tough love. I mean,
listen, I'm just saying. But in regards to the normal flow of how traffic should work, and the reality is that, and we've experienced this. We've talked about how aggressive, especially in Texas drivers are. The minute you hit your blinker, they're like, "Oh, you are not getting over," and they speed up.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe this is a North Carolina, South Carolina thing. I don't know. Maybe they anticipate that there's not going to be that courtesy of you allowing them to merge in. And so they're slowing down. And now we've got 2 automobiles slowing down and arguing over who's going to be the
behind
nicest.
Us, right.
This
maybe it's a too nice thing. I think the right thing to do is always, is to maintain your speed. And this is only something that I'm talking about doing when it seems like
they should have kept going.
It's going to cause a problem. I'm long, and I want to make sure that they can get in, and it's not going to be a problem if I go past, because then they have to slam on.
There might have been for beep's sake, at one point, because they clearly should have been the ones accelerating.
Which one? The first one, second one, or third one?
What's your fresh tank this week?
Harvest Host is my fresh tank. Speaking of this campground that feels like a Harvest Host, but isn't, because we're paying $35 a night for it.
Yes, it's not a Harvest Host.
Although the fresh tank is about the fact that Harvest Host people, when you stop at a Harvest Host location, you're generally spending a decent amount of money. Harvest Host was featured in the latest issue of Forbes magazine.
Hey.
And the article is all about how members of Harvest Host, RVers who travel about the country, have really helped a lot of businesses through the pandemic. A lot of wineries and farms and those types of places that that would often have tourism happening, that sort of stuff. They were able to have RVers come overnight and stay when they're, the hotels in their area are empty.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are coming in, and they say that Harvest Host members spend an average of $50 on goods from the hosts they visit. So
okay, hold on.
We love Harvest Host, but it is not free camping.
No,
because you spend money.
Okay, but I actually am pro this.
Yeah.
Okay, because I could spend $50 a night at that KOA, which we did.
Or you can spend $50 and come back with some bottles of wine.
Yeah, and who's winning in that situation?
Exactly.
This gal.
It's a fantastic thing. But Harvest Host, we've said this many times before, it is not just, don't get it for free parking.
I think Harvest Hosts would be really, really wise to look at different ways to say the word free. I think because they use the word free a lot. Free overnight camping.
They do.
I think that hurts them. And I don't think they're trying to be deceitful or anything, because in a way it is free. You couldn't stay there if you weren't a member.
And they usually follow that up. They're very clear that they expect you to spend money at these places.
Yes. But again, look, I'll just say it. Their ads that pop up across social media don't say free overnight camping and then tiny little print. Except for the fact that you got to buy something.
The sign up process, they say we want you to patronize the business. Anyway.
Right. And people need to read everything before they join something. This is a give and take. I'm just saying that I think the use of, I'm not saying that Harvest Host is doing anything deceitful or nefarious or anything like that. I'm suggesting finding a different word instead of free because of what that word means to people.
They do, yes, I totally agree. But they do understand that this can't work if people don't spend money, and that's
for
the thing.
sure.
It's
no
like
one.
If you use it, it will go away if you don't spend money at these places.
Right.
So definitely patronize any business that is giving you. You stop at a Walmart overnight, go buy something in that Walmart.
Yeah, but when you stop at no. I'm going to say go to the Harvest Hosts before you go to the Walmart, because when you go to the Harvest Hosts, most often what's happening is you are giving your money to a small business.
Exactly. And that's what this article was all about, is that these small businesses were really supported by Harvest Host members over the course of the last year.
And as a small business myself, I know how much a dollar means. And I think that the small business is the backbone of this country. And so, spending $100 or whatever for this membership, because they just, went up, I think it's $99 now, spending that and then going and, giving your hard-earned money to these small businesses is just a really important circle of how we need to operate in this country when it comes to goods. And so, I would encourage Harvest Hosts to explore other words that are like free, but not the word free. And at the same time, I would encourage you that if you want to do overnight stops, this is a great option if you can do it to help small business.
The bottom line of this Forbes article was that $25 million were spent by Harvest Host members.
That's awesome.
At small businesses in 2020, and they project in 2021 for it to be $40 million.
Listen, I feel like today, if we were going to wake up to some donkeys, I really wish I had been waking up with from a farm with some fresh eggs.
Like cheeses you can buy and eggs.
Maybe a bottle of wine, instead just donkeys.
Shall we wrap this episode up with a brain teaser?
Yes, I picked the brain teaser.
I haven't even read this one. I don't even know what it says, but I'm going to say it like I know it.
Look, I got to preface this brain teaser, though. Okay.
Oh boy.
There's two things that have been happening in my world right now, which is why this brain teaser spoke to me. I've been reading a lot of detective mysteries. I'm currently in an audiobook that's 31 hours long. And we've also been watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we've been watching some
excellent ending to that.
So satisfying. So when this brain teaser came across, I thought, I love it.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Galaxy Detective. Well, there we go. Galaxy Detective Superstar was on a case. That's his name? Galaxy Detective Superstar? That's a name. That's a name there. Galaxy Detective Superstar was on a case. A spaceship was lost. Her partner, Galaxy Junior Detective Brightstar.
You assumed it was a dude.
I did.
And it's a
did,
lady.
and it was a woman.
It's a lady.
Her partner, Galaxy Junior Detective Brightstar, gave her a piece of paper. This was the location of the lost spaceship. This is what this slip had scribbled on it. Juice, umbrella, potato, ice, tomato, elephant, rice. Where is the spaceship? I'm not reading that all again. You can rewind if you want to hear it again. Where is the spaceship? I don't know. What's the answer? We'll have the answer to that and a whole lot more on next week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Yes, we will. And as we ask every single week, if you are enjoying RV Miles, would you please... would you please be a Galaxy Superstar? And head over to Apple Podcasts and leave RV Miles a 5-star review. Your 5-star review has helped put us in front of thousands of more listeners.
I don't know if I'd be doing a review request after this. I think
you don't gotta write anything, but you can be a Galaxy Superstar too. RV Miles is also all across the galaxy known as social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you have not joined the RV Miles Facebook group, we would love to connect with you over there. They are the nicest group of people, and Jason and I try to pop in every single day. So it's a great way also to reach out to us if you need to get a hold of us. If you have suggestions for an upcoming topic, or you just want to talk to us about something we have covered in the past, find us there or at editor@rvmiles.com. But until next week, stay safe, happy travels, and keep logging. Ooh, I just knocked my mic off. And keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
You are the junior to my super galaxy.